Welcome to the Money Podcast from finder.com.au, Australia's most visited comparison site. The Finder Money Podcast is your weekly dose of finance and consumer news, tips and tricks without the boredom.
Hello and welcome to the finder.com.au Money Podcast. With you as always are your hosts, Adam Schmitty Smith.
Hello everybody.
Home Loans Editor, Liz Financial Panther Barry, Senior Writer,
You
Editor.
finally
actually.
got that nickname you've so desperately wanted.
See, that's all I've wanted since
Yeah.
I started the podcast.
There you go.
Financial
You got the
Panther.
Financial Panther.
Liz the Financial Panther Barry, Editor. And then myself, Marc, Home Loans Publisher. How are we all today?
Feeling fine.
Yeah, you sound like you feel fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm great.
Yeah, doing pretty good. I'll tell you what, Mark, you missed yourself a good party on Friday. We
did.
here at Finder, we had our end of financial year party, and yeah, a good time was had by all.
Except for the other people that we had to share the venue with.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't have a good time at all.
No.
But we had a great time, particularly once karaoke broke out.
Oh my gosh.
Can I just assume that someone in the company, possibly someone with the name starting with A, went a bit off the dial?
Well,
A
there
few
may
people
have
starting with
been
A.
a couple people whose names started with A who went a bit off the dial.
A few people who have appeared on this very podcast.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
Surprisingly, people who don't mind appearing on podcasts are actually quite, extroverted and
yeah,
don't mind.
who would have thought? Like I was talking to a couple of people, to Richard and Stoosh, and Stoosh is like, I don't understand like the appeal behind karaoke. Like, why do you like it? I'm like, because I'm a narcissist. Because I'm an exhibitionist and I like being the center of attention.
You got me there, Stoosh. Well, we have an awesome episode planned as always. We have Alistair Lamond from Skippr coming in to chat to us about small business, cash flow, some really cool topics. Stay tuned for that. And as always, if you enjoy the podcast, please leave us a review or a rating on our iTunes page. We always appreciate it.
Be brutal.
Yeah. No, please don't. We can't handle it.
My fragile ego will not be able to handle that.
I'll have to sulk off to my room and do karaoke.
Which Adam hates so much.
Oh, yeah. It's like, please, no one watch me.
And back again is Liz's hacking cough.
Yeah.
For week 2
I
of the
think also
podcast.
we should note that this is actually our second crack at this podcast.
Yes.
We had a first crack at it on Friday, and we had some technical difficulties. It didn't turn out. But rest assured, it was the most insightful, funniest podcast we have ever recorded. And never again will we reach those dizzying highs.
No.
And it is lost for all time to the annals of history.
I think it's the second lost podcast.
That is.
It
yeah.
is.
we have.
Those
Oh.
eventually...
That first one is the one I forgot to turn up to work for.
Eventually, those podcasts can be yours for the low price of $9.99.95.
5 installments of.
Yes.
Yeah.
In a package we're calling Podcast Too Hot for TV.
Ooh.
So,
It was a good one. Things were said that cannot really be repeated.
yeah. And they can't be unsaid, unfortunately. So there's a lot of tension in the room right now.
Liz is currently polishing a knife while looking at Adam.
I'm eating an apple, cutting slices off an apple with my knife, looking threatening.
Well, unfortunately, that podcast is not available for public consumption, but this one is. And there is currently news to be had.
Look, this isn't news, but I think classify it news you can use. We've got a piece on the site right now there's so much competition in the home loans market. And obviously, some lenders are raising rates, particularly for investors and interest-only borrowers, but they're trying to entice principal and interest owner-occupiers to get into a market with low rates. So we've got a very helpful piece on how to spot when that low rate is actually a rip-off in disguise.
Ooh, that's
So,
a good one.
Look, it may not be a rip-off, but it may not be as low as it appears. So we give you 4 traps to avoid in low-rate home loans.
Could we have a teaser of one of them?
Yeah, well, say for instance, a low loan to value ratio, right?
Right.
Like we've seen loans that say they've got a really great advertised rate, but the maximum loan to value ratio is like 50%. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, you need a 50% deposit for this home loan in order to be eligible for this low rate.
Well, it's only like $500,000.
Exactly. So yeah, that's one to look out for. And there's other things as well that, not only affect your eligibility, but actually affect the price of the home loan. That may not be quite as cheap as it appears. And we lay it all out for you. So just go to thegoodolfinder.com.au and search for low rate home loan traps to avoid.
Yes, and we'll post that on the notes page so you guys can read that and enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah. News you can use. Great.
Yeah, so something that I saw was actually also home loan related.
Ooh.
Interesting. So I guess CommBank is kind of looking to get more into responsible lending, which is good of them. But
as though they've just been throwing money around to whoever. Like, you know what, guys?
Do you want a loan? Do you want a loan?
Maybe this year we should get responsible.
No, there has been a push towards more responsible lending. But something interesting that they're doing is that they're separating their credit card and home loan applications. So previously you could submit an application and get a credit card and a home loan together. It was bundled.
Right, like a package.
Yeah, exactly. But now you have to apply for them separately.
That's interesting. Well, that's going to really change some of those package home loan deals, isn't it?
Yes.
Because a lot of them, it used to kind of be that was just part of the package. So
yeah,
it kind of makes sense. I mean, you're taking on this huge home loan. You're like, screw it, I'll just get a credit card as well, like this extra debt. So yeah, I guess it's a good thing.
Yeah, I suppose a lot of the banks are kind of trending towards, like you said, Liz, that more responsible lending style.
Wow. So will this be the end of package home loans? Who knows?
Not package home loans. Cool. So one thing that I saw was an awesome piece by The Conversation, which basically talked about how we have all these empty and unoccupied homes, and that might be one way, like taxing these empty homes might be one way to improve housing affordability. So according to the census, 2016 census, over 1 million dwellings, or 11.2% of housing, was unoccupied on census night, which is huge if you think about it.
Is this someone like trying to sell a house, or someone who's just keeping it empty for their own...
Well, so...
nefarious purposes.
Yeah. I just like my house sitting there.
Well, I'm actually not sure. I think there's a combination of reasons why. And so the piece sort of said, okay, it's probably not that high because that was just one night. And if you look at, water usage rates and things like that, the estimate might be a bit closer to 3% of homes in Australia, so 300,000 homes. But that's still equivalent to 2 years' worth of building houses at our current rates. So they're saying that if you were able to tax these, which Victoria's already started to do, it could maybe moderate house prices by 1 to 2%. And they also spoke about how if we abandon stamp duty and instead replace it with like a land tax, which is sort of a tax based on all your property holdings as a total, it could maybe encourage people to move and not just be stuck in one house because of their job or because,
Interesting.
Yeah.
With these like houses that are sitting empty, I like to envision that all of them have like Victorian era furniture that's covered in white sheets.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like a secret room.
Yeah.
That there's like some kind of, I don't know.
Hidden by a bookshelf.
Yeah.
Yes.
And all of them are haunted. And all of them have a creepy oil painting hanging up above a fireplace.
Yes.
It's like they're not empty. There's ghosts in there.
Yeah, exactly. They are occupied.
And
Taker.
maybe one of the chairs is a person, like in that Harry Potter movie. One of the lounge chairs is a person.
Oh no, that's Horace Slughorn. He turned himself into a lounge chair for about a minute.
Oh, okay.
You're thinking of Pee-wee's Playhouse. It's really easy to get those two confused. Look, another thing I saw that I thought was interesting, and it's look, we'll try and get these guys on the podcast because it is an interesting concept. Is this company TikTok?
Yes.
It's a new startup that is automating the home loan application process that says that they can get to full approval in 22 minutes.
Wow.
You don't have to scan anything. You don't have to mail any documents. That basically, if you give them your bank logons, they'll actually even pull your pay slips and everything for you. You put in your ID stuff, it verifies it all online, processes it all digitally. Yeah, and gets you an approval within, like they say, 22 minutes. And they say that you can expect your settlement documents within 30 minutes to 2 days, depending upon where you live. So pretty bold stuff there. Like I said, we'll hit them up, see if we can get them on the podcast and
Yeah,
See if,
let's chat.
See if they can get one of us approved for a home loan in 22 minutes of chatting.
We'll
Before the
apply
end
on
of
the
the podcast.
podcast. Yeah.
Well, I suppose it makes sense because everything is trending towards that whole, instant approval or, fast access of data. And, it makes sense that home loans would be the next cab off the rank,
It does.
so to speak.
Yeah.
Another little tidbit is the Block 2017 is premiering on the 30th of July.
We are excited.
Yes, Adam particularly is excited because he will be recapping some of the episodes.
And by recapping, I mean mercilessly making fun of. So,
As is customary.
yes. So we love the block. Don't get us wrong. Like, we love the block, but we also love to point out its foibles.
Yes.
What could they be?
Yeah. We tease because we love.
You do learn some things from watching the block about renovations and,
And the high quality of McCafe.
and Suzuki. But also interesting is that the contestants have been revealed. And this time around, we have two friends, one whose name is Sticks and the other whose name is Wombat. So stay tuned. We will be analyzing all these contestants.
Yeah, we'll be prejudging them based on the very limited information we have about them.
Yes.
And, basically judging them as human beings.
I don't know how you could judge like Sticks and Wombat. They sound great.
I know. Well,
I don't know what you could judge them on.
They're a league of their own, those two guys.
Yeah. Be careful. Watch out.
I bet one would describe them as true blue Aussie blokes. You reckon?
I think definitely that would be part of the bio. Shall we jump into funny money?
Okay, so, the housing market, it's a tough nut to crack, isn't it?
It's a spicy meatball.
It is. It's tough to get into. However, have I got a deal for you guys?
Ooh.
It is a 10,000 square foot home, right? Yours for free.
Ooh.
And all you have to do is pay to have it moved. Right?
Oh, right.
And not only is this a 10,000 square foot home, it is a 10,000 square foot home. Of some note, it is the North Dakota Governor's Mansion.
Wow.
It's been the Governor's Mansion in North Dakota for the past 57 years, but they're getting rid of it to make way for a larger, more modern Governor's Mansion. But that means that the old house needs to be moved no later than September. So they are offering it free of charge to anyone who wants to take it and will pay to move it. They're replacing it because, and this is really, a real selling point, like they're really going for the hard sell here. They say it doesn't really impress visiting dignitaries. Okay, well, that's not a big issue if you're going to own it and not be the governor. It doesn't really matter. It has some security issues. Okay, well, once again, you probably don't need to worry about that. It's not wheelchair accessible. Well, depending upon your situation, that could be relevant or not. It likely contains lead paint, seeming a bit less attractive, mold, and asbestos. And the roof leaks.
Oh, wow.
So it's a bit of a fixer-upper and a mover-outer, right?
Renovator's dream.
Exactly.
If you can survive the initial 6 months of living there.
Yeah, and a local house mover said it would cost at least $250,000 to move this thing.
Whoa.
Because he said that it's like a logistical nightmare to get it out of where it is because there are so many trees in the area.
Would you just literally lift it up and airlift it somewhere, or would you move a brick by lead paint covered brick?
Yeah. I don't know, but apparently it's going to be a very difficult thing to do. If no one takes it, then it's just going to be demolished.
I'm so confused by this. Like, I'm imagining that like 5 helicopters will just lift and maneuver.
Yeah, and they take like a big chunk of sod underneath it.
Yeah.
Like they just scoop it out. Yeah. I don't understand why not. There's nothing wrong with that plan.
And I suppose then, so that's $200,000 to move it, but then there's also the costs of actually repairing it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And buying the land to fit
to
a
put
house
it on.
that big.
Yeah. Right. I thought you were at first going to say that it's all yours, but you have to spend one night in it.
Yeah, because it's haunted. Yeah.
That I would do, but that
100%.
I wouldn't do.
Yeah, I'd pay you for that.
The honor of doing that.
Yep. So there you go. Your key to the housing market. you can have this beautiful house if you can somehow ship it over here.
Wow. Yeah. I wonder if you can do that. Ship houses internationally.
I don't know.
Just
We
put it
should
on a
find
boat.
out. Yeah.
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 You need a
Well,
pretty
it's
massive.
easy fix.
Can you
isn't
imagine coming through customs with it?
Don't mind me. New house smell.
Don't mind that lead.
You're like, are you really trying to get away with going through the nothing to declare line? What, this? Oh, I
didn't know if you noticed.
I didn't think you had to declare these.
Yeah, it's just a house.
It's not like I got a bag of nuts or something.
The mold's local.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I have a question for you. Would you ever consider how much it would cost if you went to an art exhibition and ruined it? Have you ever thought how much it costs to do one of those stereotypical movie scenes where you like accidentally lean on something and then it causes a domino effect?
Like, whoa.
Whoa. Have you ever thought about how much that would actually cost?
Like how much in the aftermath of the hilarious.
As someone who doesn't really understand art, I know that it's very, very expensive.
Well, you're correct, Liz.
Yeah.
So there was a Simon Birch art installation in Los Angeles. I'm actually not sure which gallery this was in. Anyways, someone went to take a selfie next to the installation.
How embarrassing.
And so you'll be able to see it on the notes page, but the installation was like a series of, they were basically dominoes.
Well, they're kind of asking for it then, weren't they? It's like
Simon Birch.
It's like if you throw a rock through the Target sign, you know? It's like, well, I mean, come on.
Exactly. So they weren't actually dominoes, but they were rectangular pillars with sculptures on each of them. There was quite a few of them. Someone went to take a selfie and misjudged the distance and just fell into one and caused one whole row to fall down in a very humorous domino fashion. Apparently, it's going to cost $200,000 for some of the sculptures.
God, that's
These are
almost
tiny
enough to move a
sculptures.
governor's mansion.
Wait,
Yes.
does the tourist have to pay?
I'm actually not sure. It didn't really say in the story, so
Just
it'd
how
be interesting.
humiliating.
Yeah.
Really. I was trying to take people taking selfies and then ruining something or
Yes.
falling is just so embarrassing.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
Wow.
You'd think the gallery would be insured for something like that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like,
well, there was
I
like
would
an
have to
attendant.
think insurance would pay for it.
Right, yeah. There was an attendant who kind of noticed. I think he was an attendant, by the way. He sort of quickly ran over and he just had his hands up in the air like, oh my God.
Can you imagine being left in charge of that and then having to call like the gallery owner or the artist, be like, so something happened.
Yeah, you know those big domino-shaped sculptures we have? Well, they fell over like dominoes.
Simon?
See, here's an interesting gap in the insurance market, right? That gallery is probably insured against stuff like this, but this means that they have to file a claim.
Right.
And they could see their premiums go up for something that wasn't their fault,
Yeah.
right? What if individuals, if we were required, kind of like you have to have CTP to drive a
Ooh.
car, if you're required to have personal dumbass insurance, right? So it insures you for doing stupid things that result in massive like property damage.
Right, like tripping over in a China store and knocking over everything.
Exactly. And that way the hapless store owner isn't liable for the mess that you caused. You are.
That is a good point. Although this sculpture didn't really have anything around it to sort of say don't get too close, which may have contributed, maybe.
Well, there was something around it. It's called common sense.
You're right. No, you actually are right. So, yeah. Don't...
Surrounded by the impenetrable fence of not being an idiot.
Jerk.
Okay, so I have a little story for you guys. Actually, I'll start off with a question.
Okay.
So if you kind of were a broke student, which kind of areas in Sydney do you think would be too expensive to live?
The East?
Yeah, eastern suburbs.
Yeah.
It's a good answer. So there is a student that lives in Bondi. She has set up a GoFundMe page because she is in arrears in her rent.
Oh, man.
So for people who don't live in Sydney, Bondi is extremely expensive to live.
Yes.
It's so pricey. So she set up the GoFundMe page. She is a self-confessed former party girl. She's $2,900 in arrears.
Wow.
And she said she's been there for 5 years while she has been studying and working towards becoming a doctor. And she said she does feel like a self-entitled idiot starting the page, but AusStudy have given her a week's notice before cutting off her payments. So news.com.au basically went through her Instagram page
Oh,
Wow.
Of course they did.
and found designer activewear, yoga classes, a superfoods diet, 2 purebred Italian greyhounds, and trips to iceberg swimming pool featured in the posts.
Wait, is the greyhounds real?
Yeah, she has 2 dogs.
Whoa, what? That
So-
sounded like something straight out of The Simpsons.
So a few days before, she was posting photos of new shoes she bought.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Is
Yeah.
there a link to the GoFundMe page? I'd be interested to see
Yeah,
if she's
if-
raised anything.
Yeah, no, she actually has. One person donated $1,000 to her.
Whoa.
Wow.
But there has been some negative feedback as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's shocking.
Some negative blowback.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm surprised that someone actually donated $1,000.
Yeah.
This would be my absolute goal for a podcast guest, would be one of the people who donates to these silly campaigns and donates a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, what is the motivation? Is it just, you know how in The Dark Knight, some people just want to watch the world burn? Is
Yeah.
that what's happening?
Yeah, like some people just want to I love wasting money.
Yeah.
I get a real thrill out of wasting money.
I want someone to talk about this on the podcast and be outraged. Is that what they're thinking?
Yeah, or
know.
maybe there's a whole class of investors who just like their thing is like, I invest in stupid stuff. You know? High risk, low return.
That's my bag.
That's what I go for every time. Enron stock, I'll buy all of it.
Why can't I buy any more Enron?
What's 20,000 times 0? Don't say 0. Well, that was great. That was very funny and educational. It was infotainment, one could say.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
I think, guys, it's now time to get Alistair Lamond in to have a bit of a chat.
Let's do it.
Shall we sound the horns?
That's how we get all our guests in. We blow a ram's horn.
We have like a Lord of the Rings style beacon
Yeah.
system.
From building to building. He's only like 2 doors down.
In the studio, we have Alistair Lamond from Skippr. So welcome, Alistair.
Thanks a lot, guys. Glad to be here.
Thank you so much for coming in.
No worries. I'm glad to be here. I've been listening to you guys over the last few weeks. A lot of entertaining banter.
Oh,
I
how
thought
do
I'd
you
been
like
part
that?
of it.
That's awesome.
People listen to us.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're not meant to say that. You're not meant to actually publicly say that.
I always feel like whenever someone's like, "Oh yeah, I listen to your podcast," I always feel like being like, "Yeah, sorry."
I know there's something to apologize for.
Yeah.
It's very educational. There's a lot
good.
of facts that I pull away from.
They slip in there somehow.
Adam does his best. He does his best to turn it on its head. I'm really interested to chat to you, Alistair, because Skippr is a really cool idea, and I think we could also learn a lot about just cash flow in general from people who are starting like these small businesses and they just don't really know much about that whole topic. And it is so important. I recently read something on the Skippr blog about how important cash flow is, and it's the single most important thing. Why is that?
Well, cash flow is the lifeblood of every business. It's the money coming in and money going out, and your ability to balance that. And if you don't balance it, you can be making sales, you can be bringing good deals, but if you don't have cash, physical cash in your bank account to actually buy and sell things, you're going to be insolvent. So your business doesn't exist. So it's a very common problem. Like I think there's statistics out there saying over 50% of SMEs fail due to poor cash flow management. There was some recent statistics from Scottish Pacific put it out there. It was part of the SME growth report, and they pretty much computed that poor cash flow management essentially costs SMEs $200 billion a year in lost revenue. So it's like lost revenue. So they're not managing it right, and they're losing, or they're getting stressed. It's costing them more money to actually get the cash in, and they're not capitalizing on opportunities. Like when you have money in the bank, you're going to be far more excited, and you're going to do far more ambitious and innovative things. And a lot of people just think about cash flow at the end of the day or at the end of the month,
Right.
when you actually need it.
Yeah.
So we, as a business, we are trying to focus on that mismanagement, help them understand the problem. And it is a simple, cash flow is very simple. It is money in, money out of a business. The problem is, as a process, it's very complex because it's so disjointed. It's coming from everywhere. Money's going out to wages, to the tax department, to all your suppliers, and then you've got to try bring it in from your customers. Then you've got to go try raise it, and so you've got to either go to, well, raise equity from investors, or you've got to go to the bank and you've got to try find additional capital. So all these different avenues you've got to balance, and that's where people struggle, and that's where people struggle to get foresight of where their cash flow is actually going. That problem, it's been systemic for a long time, and it's because it's been disjointed and it's in all these different silos within a business, and we found we've surveyed over 100 businesses in building our product, which is a cash flow management tool, and nearly 90% of them use Excel still to manage their cash flow.
Whoa.
Wow.
And Excel, it is, as a foundation product, it is a really good tool. If you need to run some really complex numbers in a simple spreadsheet, it's great, but it's manual, and you're trying to run a business, that is not an effective or efficient use of your time. So that was the first amazing finding. We were just bewildered by that, especially because now cloud technology is around and accounting's all online, and so people are putting all their accounts into all their financial figures into their accounting platform, so like your Xero or your Sage or MYOB, and then they go, okay, what's my short-term cash flow doing? They export that and they put it into an Excel document to try to figure out, okay, this is the money coming into my business and this is the money going out of my business, and they do that usually at the end, so they're reactive, and they go, oh crap, now I don't have enough money, and they scramble. And so that's when poor cash flow management can get quite expensive, because you're scrambling, you're desperate, you're vulnerable, and of course that's when they start going to any Tom, Dick and Harry for the money.
And it might come with a really high interest cost or something like that. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Interesting.
So what does Skippr do to kind of help people take the reins of cash flow management and understand it better than just an Excel spreadsheet?
So we're all about just trying to give back control to the small business owner, or anyone that's really managing that cash flow. We are a software platform that essentially brings in all that information, so cash in and cash out, in a real-time basis. So we're pulling it from accounting platforms. We extrapolate it out in a nice visual interface, and they, with some, I suppose a bit of predictive analytics on the back end, we digest the data and create forecasts, cash flow forecasts with some assumptions. So we're trying to visualize that experience to make it more digestible. What do you need to do in order to fix the cash flow? And so there's three levers to that. It's usually collecting invoices, so collecting payments from customers.
Yeah.
Then there's payments, which is always a bit disjointed as well, because you're using different payment gateways, and you need to determine which people to pay first. What opportunities are there to use finance to fill the holes in your cash flow? So our tool helps them use those three levers to understand the best course of action in a pretty seamless visual manner. And our goal is to make that fully automated and a really seamless process. So a user can have peace of mind going, yep, I know I have the cash available, and they know what they need to do in order to keep the ship sailing in the right direction.
So you mentioned the cash flow tool identifies a lot of problems in cash flow, and what are some of the most common problems that you see businesses facing? Is it getting those invoices in? I mean, what have you seen?
You stole my question, Liz.
Good question.
It is, and it is a hot topic, I suppose, collections, like long dated invoices. That's probably the main issue. There's a lot of, I suppose, managing the whole process is always complex, as I just said, but there's a systemic issue within most Western societies is long payment culture, and that it essentially is invoices are taking more than 30 days to be paid. So a great SME is doing great work with a big business usually, and they're like, thanks for doing all that, but I'm not going to pay you for 60 days. So they can keep that cash in their bank and drive more return out of it. So they're essentially treating it is.
Yeah.
It is. They're treating their supply chain like a bank.
That is such an interesting concept that, a business could use another business as a bank, like you said.
Yeah, it is a bit, it's a bit unethical, I suppose, when you think about it. And, some people say, well, let's sort this out and stop people doing it. And there's people there's Kate Carnell and there's people in government trying to legislate against it, which is, a great movement. It's a good idea to, build awareness around it. but it's going to be a challenge to legislate something that is actually just part of business. You know, when you are a business, you manage your cash flow. It all comes down to, not to get too philosophical, but this is all based on how our society works. It's capitalism.
Yeah.
Right.
Capitalism, businesses are here to make profit.
So basically, as we move up the chain, everyone's taking advantage of everyone else, and there's some poor little guy at the bottom of the chain trying to collect his invoices like, nobody will pay me.
It is exactly the problem. Yeah, it's a snowball effect, definitely. Yeah. And the poor little guy, a lot of SMEs, and there's a lot of statistics out there to support the systemic issue within Australia, the US, the UK. The SME is always the last guy to get paid. So that's why we have to look at measures to help lubricate that supply chain to make the capital flow more seamlessly.
And as you mentioned, there are quite a few. There's talk about quite a few measures to be introduced to kind of bring these payment times down, because as you said, Australia's got one of the longest payment times in the world. But there's so many different measures. Like I think Victoria introduced the cracks down on late payment times to SMEs, but that was just in Victoria, and then Kate Carnell is coming out with something else. I mean, do you think we need a more unified approach in Australia, or do you think state by state is better? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting how Victoria was the first mover, and I think it was really, they are trying to be the most innovative state and really drive support for SME and small business, which is great. And nothing better than a bit of competitive tension for the states to follow suit.
There's competitiveness between New South Wales and Victoria.
And the Queenslanders are going to start getting competitive after tomorrow night. The code that they've brought in is great. Like, it's a voluntary code. So really it's just asking, big corporates to go, hey, let's be a bit nicer to your suppliers. Let's put in place some policies and say, try pay them within 30 days, or try pay them on time at least. Just be fair, because the problem is right now, people are just like saying, we'll agree these terms, but really we'll just pay you whenever we want. And that's a problem. So this awareness piece that Kate Carnell's done, the Victorian government's done, is great. It's putting the spotlight on all these offenders, and they're starting to tighten up their policies and processes internally. So that's the first big win. It's improving internal supply chain processes. So, because that's really a lot of the problem. Like, the supply chains are really, you look at Woolworths, they're huge. And I spoke to someone in a Woolworths supply chain, they were consulting to it, and they said there was around 50 different systems managing the whole supply chain across all the different verticals.
Whoa.
So just imagine how hard it would be to be managing an accounts payable department at Woolworths to manage all that. And I'm not, we can't be giving them sympathy, but it needs to be focused more on. So they need to focus more on making the actual process of paying their suppliers more seamless, more transparent. Just so when you agree those terms, they actually get paid, because at least when you know when you're going to get paid, you can plan.
Right.
The problem is they don't know, and this is why a lot of businesses are falling over, because they literally. They can't see past 30 days, 45 days, because they don't know. They're not sure if they're going to get paid. So, back to your point about the policy, I think it's a great first step. In terms of the government's trying to really put in legislation, I don't believe it'll really get through, because you put a noose around these big corporates' neck who are driving GDP. In Australia, we're an oligopolised economy. They are crucial to our economy to keep it running and keep us out of recession. If you put a noose around their neck where you have to pay quicker, you have to, that means their cash flow themselves is constrained considerably. Their cost of capital, it goes up considerably, so they have to go to other sources of cash like banks and even the stock market, and it's going to get more expensive. It creates a flow-on effect, and quite a considerable one. And in the end, these big companies, they're beholden to shareholders. It's all about profits for them.
Yeah.
So a little bit of voluntary code, saying the government's just nudging them a little bit. We'll take that into consideration, but we're beholden to those guys.
Please stop kicking that guy. No. Well, okay, you can kick him, but maybe
not as hard.
Yeah, not quite as hard. Okay, we'll consider it.
We'll give him some knee pads.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're a small business trying to collect on invoices, what are the risks/rewards of hiring a standover man?
Some muscle.
Really shake people down to get those invoices.
It's an interesting one. It's always been a bit of a murky industry, the collections space. A lot of factoring businesses, which is a form of invoice finance. When you factor an invoice, you sell that invoice to a factorer. And traditionally, that factorer has control over what they want to do with that invoice. If it doesn't get collected, they bring in some muscle and go collect it.
Yeah.
So traditionally, that's been reputed as being quite abrasive, and it's not good for the business and their relationship with their customers. And that's the crux of the problem. Sure, you can get a collection guy in, but you've got to make sure that relationship is something you don't want to deal with anymore. Is that customer someone you don't want to have to? Are they bad for your business? So much so that you're going to bring in the muscle.
Yeah.
Because more often than not, you want to avoid a collection process because that's your business, that's your customer.
Yeah.
So heavy-handed collections is definitely an old way to manage the process. There are some smarter ways to do it now. First and foremost, it's getting in better processes to actually, within your contractual terms with your customer, up front, look at your terms, make sure they're clear. It's that whole customer management process post-sale as well. It's just as much relationship to get the sale, but it's relationship to actually get paid. That helps you mitigate a dirty collection process.
I had a final question, which was, if you're looking to start a small business, what is one tip that you could give for people just to best set themselves up for cash flow in the future, especially if they have no real experience? What's one sort of thing that they should always think about?
You've got to get it in the cloud straight away. I started the business over in the UK and I started in Excel. A lot of people go, I just need I'll keep it simple. You can get Excel templates and start running your finances on it. Get into a cloud accounting platform straight away. They're cheap. They're accessible. There's lots of them out there. It's competitive now. There are your typical Xeros, MYOB. Now, there's a lot of incumbents, Reckon is another Australian one. There's a really cheap one called Wave. I use Wave for my charity over in the UK, and they're free.
There's no reason not to use them.
No reason to not to use them. Straight away, you are getting your business set up in a transparent way, so you're in control of things. And from there, the accounting platform is the foundation of your business because it's where the money sits and stored, and so it's historical. So from there, you can then do a lot more with understanding, okay, how do you best get the payments sorted out? How do you best get the collection sorted out? How to best use finance? Those journeys and those understanding those levers is far easier when you have the foundation data and information cleaner, because then you can use people like Skippr straight away. You literally sign up to Xero today, you get your business up and running, you can connect Skippr within a few minutes, and you can start seeing forward. And we can help you go model out, okay, what's coming up? Let's put some sales in. Let's understand, how you're going to be sailing if you take on these sales, take on these clients. So simple answer is, start in the cloud, get online, keep it clean from the outset, because before you know it, these kind of jobs of managing your accounts and bookkeeping, and they're always down on the priority list because they're nowhere near as fun as selling a product.
Yeah.
So get it sorted in a nice way so you have a good process, good technology, and then once you start scaling, get the right people in place to manage it. Because as soon as it gets out of control, you're going to spend more time cleaning. And
right.
That's really where it starts to bite.
And what kind of businesses is Skippr suited to?
Skippr, we work with predominantly B2B business because they have receivables and payables. So any B2B business can connect. Right now we're only connected to Xero, and we will be connecting to other accounting platforms in the near future. But those businesses are generally B2B. Where we're seeing the most demand is those businesses that are in those big supply chains. So they're small businesses dealing with big clients. So you could call it B to big B. And the big Bs are bad, and big bad Bs. They're the ones that are having the most cash flow problems. So our tool, they turn it on, and it is fascinating. When they turn it on, I see how it looks, and I do a little bit of work on the back end to make it look realistic and fine tune it. And it's just amazing how you look out 1, 2, 3 months, and quickly you're like, mate, you better be. Have you got some ideas of how you're going to fix this? Because a lot of sometimes people are quite taken aback because they don't have the clarity of they have clarity over the next week or 2 weeks. Because you look at your bank account, right? then from there, it's all a haze.
Wow.
So, yeah, like that's where we're seeing the greatest demand. Those guys sitting in the oligopoly supply chains, they're dealing, great little businesses, food businesses, agencies, working with they get excited. They go selling to Woolies. They get a big new project with a big brand, and they put it into the tool, and they can see it is driving their top line growth and hopefully profit at the end of the day. But from a cash flow perspective, it really can put a lot of strain on the business.
Wow. Well, we've run out of time. Did you guys have any last questions that you wanted to ask Alistair?
Oh, good.
Well, I just wanted to ask one final question, which was, what is in the future for Skippr?
We envision our product to be a cash flow advisory tool. We want this process to be a little bit more habitual for a business, and to make it habitual, it should be easier. So we envision our product to be very smart. So we're using artificial intelligence, and we've got a brain that's getting smarter to teach and start predicting things. So then with a brain, we then can start talking, and so it becomes more conversational. Maybe every couple of days they're going to be getting alerts saying, by the way, this is how you're tracking, and we'll alert them to a few areas that need to be focused on. But just give people more peace of mind. Like, that's what we want to be giving businesses. Peace of mind that they know they have the cash in the bank.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, we'll drop a link to Skippr on our notes page.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Well, that was awesome.
Yeah, and can I say, I was really impressed that he actually had a serious real-world answer for my stupid question about, sending goons over to beat up your debtors. I always find that intriguing when I ask what I think is an absolutely ludicrous question, and there actually is a good answer for it. So, really interesting stuff.
I'm happy for you, Adam.
Well, I think it's now time to touch on, briefly, Thunderdome.
Oh, man. We're still saying it that way, huh?
Can I also just say, before we go on with our update for Thunderdome, I said it right that time.
Yeah. Okay. So we get a taste of both.
That the ASX Stock Challenge registration is currently open. I don't know how long it'll stay open for, but we've started again, Adam, Liz and I. And also, we've invited a few of the people from our office, but we have a league that anyone is able to join.
You guys can jump in there and see if you can take down the
reigning champs.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, basically Adam. See if you can beat Adam.
Well, I think you'll be surprised, Liz. Some of the other competitors in this competition are accomplished stock traders. So let's just leave it at that. We might be pleasantly surprised with some of the entries this time.
Ooh.
But if you'd like to join, our league ID is 19917. The password is Angus Rocks 123, and that's rocks with an X.
Yeah, we'll put all this on the podcast page.
We'll put it on the podcast page. So you can join up and try and beat us.
Yeah.
Who thought of that
Try and come for the big dog.
password?
I did. So anyways, back to the update. How'd you guys go this week?
I think I've kind of flatlined, to be honest. I haven't really increased or decreased. I've kind of tracked one of my stocks in the technology sector for a couple of weeks, and it's just in the red. It's been in the red for a little while. My market value of that stock is about $12,000. So I'm thinking of dumping it and buying something else. Another one has kind of been in the red for about a week now, so I'm thinking of dumping that one as well. And I think that might help my return, which is sitting at 1.9%.
Lovely.
So I've earned about $1,000, and I have $1,000 left to spend. So maybe after that, I might increase it slightly.
Ooh.
But my current rank is 3, which means Marc is still losing. Do you want to give us an update, Marc?
Okay, so for the week, my return was 1.17, which puts me at just behind Super Nintendo Chalmers, aka Al Bentley from Simply Wall Street. But this week I didn't really do that well. I had a net return of 0.28%. And the main reason is because I had 2 shares which just performed really badly this week. One, the company is getting sued for some erroneous patents. So I don't know what will happen with that. Apart from that, I've got some really good results from some of my tech and resources stocks. So similar to you, Liz, I'm going to be offloading some of my medical stocks and stocks owned by companies that are currently getting litigated. And we'll keep going from there.
I was relatively flat. I think 0.35% return. Nothing to report because I can't do anything. So I just have to sit here and watch you guys. Al, meanwhile, had a pretty good week, a 1.27% return.
Yeah.
Overall in the competition, he's saying edging up on a 6% return, which is pretty darn good for a couple months' work.
I'm so curious to chat to him, and we might have him on pretty soon, actually, considering that the ASX game is going to be starting in August. It'd be awesome to have him on and just find out what he invested in, what his strategy was, because it looks like he's just been steadily gaining, whereas I've been steadily losing and then steadily gaining. Awesome. Well, thanks for that Thunderdome update, y'all. And remember, if you want to join us in the ASX Stock Challenge, I'll put the details on the notes page, and it'll be awesome. You can, if you haven't traded before, it'll be a good learning experience. And if you have, you can beat us.
Good luck.
Adam will be employing his famous strategy.
I'm 100% certain it won't work a second time.
I really want to see if it does. I think it'll be a good little test.
Yeah, if it does, then I'll see you guys later because I'm going to be doing it in real life.
Now it's time for the road test. We spend a week with a new tip, trick, or app and see if it can save us money, earn us money, turn us into a better person.
Yeah,
I don't
just
know.
generally better people. Let's talk Liz.
Yes.
Liz did a bit of road testing, and hers was to only make coffee at home rather than buy coffee out. So how did it go for you?
Look, it didn't go very well. So I have a coffee machine at my house, but I don't know how to use it. So we just kind of make instant coffee when we make coffee at home. So I have a keep cup. So I made my instant coffee and I took it into work. The first day I forgot, so I didn't have any coffee in the morning because I didn't get up early enough and I had to race into work. The second day I remembered and I was on the bus drinking my coffee. And then I don't know what happened, but the keep cup just started slowly seeping the coffee all over my hands.
Jeez.
It was probably the worst experience of my life because I had nothing to wipe.
You've led a charmed life, my friend.
It was awful. I had nothing to wipe it off with.
Was it hot?
It was like lukewarm. I think I made it. I think I left the lid off for too long and I didn't keep the heat on and I made it really badly because I was like, I should add some sugar even though I don't usually have sugar in my coffee.
Oh, okay.
And then so it tasted really bad and it was dripping all over my hands and my hand was sticky and I was just really upset by the whole experience.
Wow. So our road test, destroyed you.
It really did. And I calculated how much I normally spend on coffee. So I get one in the morning and I kind of get one in the afternoon, which is kind of like more of a social thing. So I either go out for like a work meeting or like I just go out, with someone else. So, $3.50 times 2 a day. So 7 times 5, $35 a week. I am happy to spend that amount if it means I don't have to make it at home or in the office.
You had $35 worth of frustration.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, I would just find a way to earn $35 more a week.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, here's the thing, though. If you try this, results may vary.
Yes.
Because
that's true.
you may be far more competent at making coffee than any of us are.
Yeah.
So
yes.
If I maybe learned how to use my coffee machine at home, which just sits there.
Yeah.
It just sits there.
Yeah, just basically a general baseline of life skills could lead to a different result in this particular road test.
Yeah.
So just be forewarned.
And is a keep cup optimal for traveling?
Well, apparently I was speaking to someone and the keep cup I have apparently isn't the best one because it has a rubber lid which apparently does leak. So if I had a different keep cup, apparently it wouldn't have leaked.
Wait, it leaks?
Why even make them?
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but apparently they had a rubber one. They said, they tend to leak. So apparently if you get one, don't get the one with the rubber around the outside of the lid.
Man,
Wow.
that just completely defeats the purpose of
I know.
even having
They don't
them.
keep in the cup.
Wow.
Yeah.
If making coffee to you is a grotesque misadventure, it is a challenge absolutely too mammoth to undertake, then that $35 a week might be worth it to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you have like a coffee machine at home that you can use or one at work that you can use. So the one at work I can use, but I can only make espressos. I don't know how to make
Liz, I can show you
lattes.
how to make a...
latte?
Okay, I can't show you how to make a latte.
Yeah. No,
I'm
see,
sorry.
it requires additional training.
Finesse. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah,
Didn't
it
you
depends
mention
on your
that you
skills.
used to be a barista? For a brief
Yeah,
time?
but I used to work in a pie shop of sorts, but the coffee machine we had basically involved you kind of pressing a button and the coffee would come out, and then so I would just have to make the milk, like froth the milk.
Right.
But so I knew how to make that, use that machine.
That seems far more complex than most home coffee.
Yeah, but with each machine, you have to learn how to use that machine.
Good point.
So if
right.
someone taught me, I'm sure I could use it, but I wasn't bothered. Not for the week.
Well, there you have it, Liz. Don't try taking your own coffee from home.
Yeah, it's a terrible idea and will only end in tears.
The one good thing that happened, though, was I usually buy breakfast in the mornings with my coffee. So I actually saved even more money not buying breakfast as well.
So there was a silver lining.
Yeah.
Did you make breakfast or did
Yeah,
you
I
just
did.
go hungry?
I basically died because I just couldn't feed. No, I made breakfast at home as well.
So Liz, if you bought coffee for 50 weeks, if you had given that up, you would be saving $1,700 right now.
But how
per
much?
year.
How much extra coffee beans and coffee would I have to buy at home?
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, Liz. You're just really not helping the situation here.
Well, she wouldn't save $1,700 because Liz would die in a coffee-related accident like a couple weeks into it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, or she would take out her frustrations on some poor bystander and end up in prison.
An interesting concept I heard was if you're looking to kind of save, like if that $35 a week is really important to you, you should find a way to make $35 more a week. And, considering, we've got Airtasker, we've got all these extra things, that is super possible. So you should look at that instead of being like, I should go through the frustrations of cutting out something as simple as coffee.
That makes sense, yeah. Or maybe just think about something else you could cut that would equal $35 that you wouldn't miss as much.
Yeah, I mean, ideally I should be cutting out breakfast instead of coffee because it wouldn't cause that much drama in my life.
Yeah, it's like the whole smashed avocado thing. Like, okay, if you really like smashed avocado, just find something else that is equivalent to however much you spend on that delicious, juicy, amazing snack. And just replace it.
Mark's run out of the room. He's going to get some smashed avocado.
Give up your American Girl doll collection.
Yeah, exactly. And that's stored.
When hell freezes over, I will.
That wasn't related to this conversation at all. I was just saying, Mark, give up your American Girl doll collection.
Never! All right, well, it's time for the road test for this week.
We have spoken about this on the podcast before, the micro investment app Acorns. So we thought it'd be cool if Marc tested it out.
I'm keen to get a saving, as we say in the biz.
Yeah, so it basically involves you just linking the app to your bank account and it'll round up purchases that you make. So, if you spend $2.95, it'll round up that last 5 cents and invest it for you based on your risk appetite. So you can set different things in the app. And then, I think you can actually set a limit as well. So you can be like, I don't want to invest up to $1,000. I only want to do it up to 50. So
I'm really interested in this. I really like the idea of all this kind of micro investing and, passive investing, and it'll just automatically decide on the amounts. So
it's cool because it's amounts that you probably wouldn't really even notice.
Yeah. I would fritter away anyways. So I think I'll have to set away some limits.
Knowing you.
So if it stops me from buying any more American dolls, or if it helps me to buy more American dolls in the long run, then I'm all for it, Liz.
Well, I'm excited to hear how it goes.
All right, well, thank you everyone again for an awesome episode, and thank you to Alistair Lamond for coming in. That was a really awesome chat we had. As always, if you like the episode, subscribe and review. Leave a review on iTunes. Thank you, Adam and Liz.
You're welcome.
And we'll catch you again on the flip side. Did I just steal your sign off,
You
Adam?
did. It's fine. I don't need it anymore. See you, suckers.
Thanks for listening to the finder.com.au Money Podcast. Head over to www.finder.com.au/podcast to find the show notes for this episode and more great episodes. The Finder podcast is intended to provide you with tips, tools and strategies that will help you make better decisions. Although we're licensed and authorised, we don't provide financial advice, so please consider your own situation or get advice before making any decisions based on anything in our podcast. Visit finder.com.au to learn more about how we're regulated, to compare your options, or to access our terms and conditions.